Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Conscious Conversations in Parenting with me, Angie, Natalie, and Julie. And today we're here for episode 24, and we're so happy you're joining us. And we're talking about how to create silence because what mom doesn't want silence looks for silence, right? So we thought we'd offer some perspectives on how to create silence. If you're new here, welcome. We're really happy you're joining us with the conversation. I'm Angie. I'm the creator of Journey to Soul. And I'm a mom. I'm a mom of a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. I have a husband. I have a family here. And I'm just a human trying my best, trying my best. And as I grow, I share what I'm learning to help others grow too, because we're all in this together. And as parents, I think it's so important for us to talk about the things that we're in, the things that we're experiencing, because it is through conscious conversations that we begin to have new awarenesses and we open ourselves to new possibilities and to other ways of doing things, not just the way we've been programmed or told to do things, because that frankly goes against our heart and our soul. So, and I know many of you feel that. So that's what I got for you today, an introduction. So I'll let Natalie introduce herself briefly and we'll move on.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Um, yeah, so I again, I look at life as an awakening experience. Like everything that I go through during the day, I know there's, um, even with challenges, I see that as um, a way to expand and grow. And I love having these conversations with Angie and Julie, and with my family as well, and just um, yeah, talking about this, right? Because again, and Angie, I think you said it somewhat similarly. When we talk about it, we make space for other people to talk about it too, right? Like when we're vulnerable about stuff, when we're honest about stuff, when we're like, "Hey, this really sucks," or like, "OMG, guess what happened to me today?" And then we talk about it, but we talk about it not like in a griping way. We talk about it like, and this is how I felt, then I went within. And then the next day I woke up and, oh my God, this beautiful experience happened, right? So I find it's really important to share all the aspects of conscious awakening, of conscious parenting, because that gives not only exposure to other people and possibly a learning lesson, but it also gives them space um, to go within, like to touch that vulnerability and experience that themselves.
Yeah, I agree. That's beautiful. Thank you. Julie, let's hear from
Hello,
you.
everyone. Julie here, if you don't know me. I'm a mother of two boys, 13 and 11, who I love so dearly, of course. um, and I am a being who just does my best to embody infinite and unconditional self-love and just love sharing love with the world, because it comes back as well and it just feels wonderful. And I'm a person who chooses no harm to self, others, or the environment as much as possible. When I become aware of something, that I am being harmful, I try to do better. And I love having these conscious conversations because, well, these are wonderful, amazing ladies, of course, and it opens up new perspectives, new ideas, new communication, and also connections of feeling not so alone as well.
Yeah, beautiful. I agree. I agree. I agree. You guys are amazing. So, how to create silence? I'll let you, Natalie, take this away because I know this was a topic that you brought to the table and you had some really cool thoughts when we were chatting about it.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, I thought that was pretty funny about like every mom craves the silence, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure dads do too. But again, there's this um, like the mother role. It seems to a lot of people that there's just added pressure, there's just more responsibilities, um, kids always go to the mom first, especially when they're young, right? And my kids are a little bit older, so we're mostly out of that stage. Um, but there's still, um, it just seems like a lot. Sometimes it just seems like a lot, being a mom. And there's always something, there's that, like everything can be loud, right? Like either the voices or the TV is just loud, or people are like, Mom, I need a snack, or even just that physical loudness, right? Of like constantly being touched. Um, Especially like if you have a newborn or toddler, like they always want to be picked up. And then the cat's around your legs, and then I don't know, and then like your 6-year-old is asking help with something else, and it's like that physical loudness too.
Yeah.
Um, I find. So then um there's just this craving I find, with a lot of parents and a lot of moms, of like they just want that quiet, right? For even like 5 minutes, they just want to, and and how do you get that right? And how do you get it consistently? And how do you
Yeah.
get it authentically too? Because we all know you can't fake this shit, right? Like, you can't fake this
No.
journey. And it's so that's what I want to talk about today is really like how to create silence, but authentically, right? Not by like putting in your earbuds and locking yourself up in the car. That's not healthy silence,
Yeah,
right?
and silence that you're going to be present with.
Yeah, yeah, not silence that you're like, yeah, that's good. Okay, let's dive into that later. Later. I love how you said that.
It's already opening up. This is why we do this.
Right, yeah.
Oh, there's Julie. She disappeared for a little bit there. There we are. Exactly. I love that you said it, like silence in all these aspects, physical too. Like it's true. Like over sensory. Like it's a sensory overload. It's in
Yeah,
the
sensory
head.
overload. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the head. It's touching. It's sounds everywhere. Like yeah, that's why we crave silence so much. I think, in my opinion. Hi, Julie. Welcome back.
Thank you. My Wi-Fi kicked me out.
Uh, Yeah, so what do you think? Like, how do you create silence? Like you said something when we were having a conversation and you were talking about, finding silence in our thoughts because we talk a lot. Even in the last episode, we were talking about what we create internally is what we express externally, right? So if we start within and we find silence within and create silence within here, right? What's going to happen, I believe, I wholeheartedly believe, is that opportunities for actual silence in your physical environment will appear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that's been my experience. And it kind of goes through different layers, right?
Mhm.
Um because a big like it's so we think that um our external world is so loud. Like I have an example of last week, my office, I work at home. And my office is set up in the basement and the family rooms just um kind of attached to my office. Like it's an opposite room, but it's pretty close. And the kids were being loud, or at least my ears were perceiving that the kids were being loud, right? And my initial reaction was, like again, I tensed up and I'm like, oh, I gotta tell these kids quiet, like I'm on the phone with patients and stuff. And then, but I didn't do anything. I didn't verbally say anything, but I was still tense and I was thinking about it. And then I'm like, bloody hell, my thoughts in my head, this narration of this, like my own voice, me telling myself, these kids are so loud. Oh my God, again, like, why are they being so loud? That was actually being louder than the freaking kids themselves.
What a great
So
point.
Yeah.
yeah, and this is what happens all the time. I know the previous episode was like resisting, but this is what this is what happens even with external sound and external noise is we think it's the outside stuff that's super loud, But in actuality, it's our thoughts. It's like the inner bitch that is really loud. So the and again, like it is a process. I mean, we could technically snap our fingers, but we have so many thoughts, and people don't realize it's like different layers of thoughts that we have. So at first you become present of you usually become present of like the loudest one, right? Like the inner bitch that's saying, God, these kids are so annoying, or like, why is the TV cranked up so loud? Like they're sitting right in front of the TV. Why does it have to be so loud? That voice, that maybe that's the first layer that you become aware of, right? And then maybe you're just aware of that voice for, I don't know, like the first year maybe. And then the more aware you are of it, of that narration, um, of that specific thought, then again it goes away because you're bringing light to it, right? And then maybe after that, well, then there's another consistent thought pattern that you start noticing. And then again, the more awareness, the more light you bring into it, then that dissipates. But there's always layers, right? Because again, we're not slugs here, guys. We have this amazing brain that we can create, we can make music, we can have these conversations, we have memories, but that's all with our mind, our brain. So like don't make an enemy out of it, but just observe it and realize that um as you yeah again as you're aware of those thoughts, they're going to start diminishing, and then you do see those opportunities externally, because then you realize, oh, it's not actually the kids telling themselves silly jokes slightly too loud. It's the thoughts in your head that are being too loud. Like that's actually where the volume is cranked up on max.
Yeah, that's what we're seeking silence from. Like this is like it's blowing my mind how quickly we got there. Like because it's true. Like what we're actually seeking silence from is the inner bitch who's really uncomfortable, who's really mean, who's really, you know what I mean? Who's judging everyone around them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that example. That's beautiful. And it's so true because we have this constant dialogue going on. And when I think of finding silence, I think of meditation. And the way I've like to describe meditation is like we've got this static TV on all the time, and that's like our thoughts in our mind, and it's just constantly going, and it's like just a constant noise in our head. But we can find silence, we can learn to find silence and shut that off. And everything behind that fuzzy screen is like beautiful magic. And it is like peace and relaxation. And it's the answers that we need. We've been so programmed to have constant noise and constant motion in our society. And the reason is because we are essentially more programmable and easier to handle that way. When we learn to turn that volume off and stop being so busy and find those moments of silence, that's when we find our soul. That's when we find our heart. That's when we find our connection to the earth. That's when we find our connection to source, the connection to the angels, all of these, our energy centers. We find our energy centers. We start to identify with ourselves. And it's not necessarily easy to get there at first. We have to practice and take some small steps. We don't have to go and learn to meditate in silence for an hour or a day right away. But this topic reminds me that I was taking time for silence for myself without even knowing before and the way I would do that would be to go to the bathroom and stay there for a long time. That was me finding silence from the outside world.
Natalie just said
always
this
ask
too
me,
while you were not here about that example
really?
of running and hiding.
It's beautiful because almost no one will interrupt you or question you when you're in the bathroom, so people would ask me what I would take so long for, and I didn't even know at the time. what I was doing, but it was a way to decompress. It was a way to silence the outside world. I had anxiety. I had social anxiety. It was a way to give me a breather and give me a minute. And then once I was aware of that, I was like, oh, I'm looking for some space. I'm looking for some quiet time. So I started to intentionally take that. And even if it was for a couple minutes, you know, and Angie and I were just talking about this the other day about giving myself a timeout from my children. I did that often because I was trying to break the pattern of becoming reactive with them. And I had to learn how to love myself in those moments and take time for myself in those moments and breathe, quiet the mind, become present in the moment, and then make an empowered choice as to how I want to move forward. And that sounds like a lot, but it could really happen within a couple minutes. All it took was a couple minutes of finding some silence, or well, intentionally creating silence. You know, I was doing it before, not intentionally. So it was helpful, but it didn't help me to progress any further, right? Once I was aware of it and mindful of it, then I could put the intention behind it. And then, you know, it just got better and better from there. Yeah.
That's
So,
really well
and
said.
thank you. And at times now I take, you know, a full 6 hours in silence when my children are at school, you know, I'll be like, I'm going to use all this for silence right now and just connecting with myself and flowing with wherever the day brings me, because there's no interruptions and outside noise happening. Mm-hmm.
This is what I was saying when you were off the call. Natalie was talking about the topic and about what did I say, Natalie? Shoot. Being present with the silence. Like, it's one thing to find silence, right? But sometimes I think a lot of us, you know, when we're in that frazzled state, we're not present with the silence. So we can't even receive it or appreciate what it does. And so that's what I love what you said about, you know, once you were aware of it, it became intentional and you progress further. Before you find silence, but it's only there in that moment and you don't move forward with it. And
Yeah, just
so
even the
how
way
can you
you,
be present with it?
right, even the way you just said that, it almost reminded me of an addiction. Like I was doing it unintentionally and seeking it over and over, but I didn't have any knowledge of what I was doing, like until I actually became mindful of, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm creating it. Then I can intentionally create it in my life and in different ways as well. I didn't have to go to the bathroom all the time anymore. You know, I could go
Right,
to my
yeah.
very own bedroom with things that I love and enjoy. You know, I could put on a little bit of music or some essential oils, do some breathing techniques, you know, start really being intentional about that silent time and that time alone. And that's where I connect with my heart and my soul, right? My energy centers. And that is where we become empowered and to create the life that we desire rather than being run by all of this noise.
Yeah. Isn't that there's an ego identification here too, you know? I think a lot of moms, and I've probably been guilty of it too, it's an ego identification of being that mom that's constantly trying to find a moment and find silence. You know what I mean? And it's almost like a badge of like honor.
Like martyrdom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's an ego trap right there. And it
It
keeps us
is.
stuck. It keeps us stuck.
Oh, it keeps us so stuck because when we
and suffering.
can't care for ourselves, we can't care for like we only have the capacity to care for others as much as we can care for ourselves. And I see that over and over and over. And that really helps me when people are doing things that I find very hurtful or unloving. A lot of the time people are doing these hurtful things out of love, out of the capacity of love that they have for themselves. So that really helps me have compassion for people, realizing that if they are behaving in this way, how do they feel internally? Someone who feels at peace and joyful and grateful does not behave in harmful, mean ways. So I always bring it back to like, what is going on internally for these people? You know, I want to give them more love. because they're behaving this way. Because, you know, everything comes down to when we feel that inner peace and that love for ourselves, again, we create that world externally for all those around us, and they mirror it right back to us. It's like a no fail. Love is a no fail. And taking time for that silence and will give us the opportunity to choose how to love ourselves.
No. Yeah, I don't know who said this, but how we're so and I think it was you, Julie, that said like we're so programmed to, like, we're used to hearing all this external noise, right? And it's very, very distracting, and that's what it's there for, right? Not to be a conspiracy theorist or anything, guys, but I mean, the external world is there to distract you, because the real lesson is how to go back within, right? If the external world wasn't so loud, it would be super easy to be like, oh, I'm so zen, I'm connected with all, but because it's so loud and it's so in your face, and it's like we're tactile beings, right?
Oh,
We're physical beings, right? And the external world can get really loud and really distracting. But again, like, by recognizing that and going within and finding just that little bit of silence, right? And it's, and if we can start creating just like that little bit of space of silence within us, then it really does magnify that silence externally. We don't even really have to do much. And then just stay with your practice, like try it out for a while, and you're going to start seeing a lot of like a lot of improvement, for lack of a better word, because the more silence you bring within, it just brings through patience, right? Or compassion, like Julie was saying. Then you just have more compassion for others. You just have more patience with, the squabbles, or, people arguing with each other. You don't jump into that external noise. You're not distracted by it. So then even that just creates more silence in your external world, because instead of like four voices arguing together, there's just three, right? And then maybe someone else picks up your cue, a little while later, and then it's just two people, or maybe it just dissipates, or maybe that argument lasts 5 minutes with the four of you instead of 5 days, right?
Yeah, we have to
absolutely.
see those wins. We have to notice them. That's also part of the journey, right? Is noticing the progress you're making. Seeing it as
Yeah.
progress, seeing it as progress.
Yes, and I had a perfect example of that today. When the kids came home, and when they come home from school, there is a lot of energy and information that they're bringing in that they want to share, and all at once. So I'm more prepared for this now. I'm prepared. I know that this is going to happen, but sometimes I still need some space. So today it was starting to get a bit too much. And because I've practiced taking time for myself for so many years and giving myself timeouts with them, I was able to, in the moment, realize the feelings rising up in my body, starting to get irritated, starting to get, a tighter chest and feel annoyed. And it wasn't because of them. It was whatever was going on internally with me. I needed to use my brain, or I needed some silence. And I was able to just say, you know what? I'm starting to feel frustrated and overwhelmed. You guys are bringing me a lot of information and a lot of energy. I need some space. Can you please just give me some space? I was, doing dishes in the kitchen. And they did. They were able to. And then they came back a couple minutes later, and I was fine. I was talking to them, and then I was like, whoa, I started to feel it again. I was like, nope. I was like, okay, I still need some space, guys. And just like the last video we were talking about, when we stop resisting taking that silence, or anything else, we're able to deal with it and manage it in the moment, after we practice, after we start to become aware of our patterns, our feelings in our body. And then we can choose in that moment, how are we going to love ourselves? I could have stayed there and started getting irritated and annoyed, and maybe yell at them and tell them to get out of my face, or, whatever I could have done in the past. And then I'd feel bad about myself. That's not loving. That's not being loving. Or then I would regret it later and, have these constant thoughts about it. But over time, being able to take that silence for myself, I've been able to work up to a point of being able to just say, okay, I need some space and I need some time. It was not as easy in the past, but I've worked up to that. And it was nice that I was able to see that in the moment today. Like you were saying, celebrate those wins. When I was doing that, I was like, wow, this is pretty good. It's working, in my head. I'm like, I like this,
That's the gift. That's the gift of practice. The gift of practicing and celebrating the progress is that one day you'll be able to do it in the moment. And it'll be amazing. It'll be incredible.
It is. Ooh, I just got goosebumps for that.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's
Something
so
will
true.
shift in you. Something will shift hugely. And I know we've all been through that.
And as we mentioned in the last video too, it's about choosing and choosing and choosing again. We have to intentionally choose what we want. Do you want that silence in your life? Do you want some silence in your life? Then intentionally choose it. And it doesn't have to be this huge, gigantic step. Start with attainable, smaller steps. And eventually they grow and grow and grow. And you find more silence, more of what you desire.
Sometimes
No,
you'll
go ahead.
choose the noise too. And it's okay, guys. You'll
Mhm.
choose the noise sometimes. It's okay. But guess what? You will progress and you will choose the silence more and more and more. And sometimes we still choose the noise. We still choose the bad habit. We still choose, you know what I mean? And it's okay because there's a big difference between consciously choosing
Yes.
Yeah.
that bad habit or the noise and unconsciously choosing it.
Yes.
Huge
Yes,
difference.
so
Different
grateful you
energy
brought that up.
completely. Yeah.
It's so true because we are not perfect beings and we're not here to only experience one thing.
Yes.
We're here to experience a wide range, of everything, high vibrations, low vibrations, everything in between. And it's so important not to judge ourselves. We can be aware in these moments, but not judging ourselves. It's okay. And when we choose these things that maybe we don't think are as healthy for us or as good for us consciously, we can make the conscious choice to choose something different next time. That's personal power right there too. And we can go whichever way we desire over and over again. But when we're unconscious about it, we're just repeating patterns and not having that personal power, that empowerment, and that choice. So it's not about being perfect. It's just about being aware.
Yeah. That feels complete. How do you guys feel? Natalie, did you have anything to add here?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Like it.
Feels good. What a great topic. Thank you for bringing it. Yeah, so good. All right. Thank you, everyone. I forgot to say this in the last video. I should be saying this in every video, but if you like this content, please, subscribe, like the video, share it with somebody, share it with a mom that you know that's looking for silence, and help a mama out. And yeah, every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we share our videos live, and we're on live. At least one of us will be on live chat to, communicate with you as you watch the video. I don't know what else to say. I love you guys. Be human.
Sorry, one last thing. And if you're looking to find more of us and who we are, you can find us in the links below.
Yes. Thank you, Julie. All right. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. Please share with us your own experiences and your own insights, please, because you all have wisdom to share. That's why we do these conversations, so we can hear it. All right. And I love you guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you next video. Bye.